I'm ready. Everybody ready? Oh my
Better
goodness.
be.
I guess we're ready. Hi, fans of the Monday Movie Club. This year, for my selections, I decided to torture the group, basically, and make them watch the movies that were at the top of the Franken list that we hadn't already watched. So this week, we are watching Casablanca from 1942, which Mark has a picture there. It's number seven on the Franken list of all 6,614 movies that are listed on the Franken list. I am Louis because I think this is a beautiful relationship right here, this beautiful friendship. Joel wants to be Hugh S. Peck, or he has a huge S. Peck. What does your huge S. Peck have to do with anything?
Well, U.S. pets,
You-
usual suspects. I just,
Oh,
Oh
God.
my goodness, Joel.
Where is my Stretch Armstrong?
yeah,
Yes.
exactly. I
Stretch
knew what I was
Cunningham.
doing.
Stretch Cunningham.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Uh Amy Goldman there. No Cringer. Is he
another
no
week.
no videos anymore for him?
He has taken to sleeping on my bed instead of the top of the couch, and he's so happy and cozy.
Like
All right.
every other fan we've ever had, he's left us.
He's left
Yes.
her.
Yes, very true.
He's sick of hearing these reviews. And
Hi.
Mark Wojcicki Gardner has up his picture of the ill-fated couple. And Annie King in the kitchen.
Definitely prepping something.
Yeah, what are we prepping there?
No, folding laundry.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
Ah,
It's nice that you can multitask on our video.
Yes, because I only watched two of the Oscar-nominated movies, so I didn't have much to add to that conversation
yeah,
earlier.
yeah.
That was a pre-conversation. We only
Yeah.
started recording now. All right, here's the plot. Rick Blaine, played beautifully by Humphrey Bogart, owns a nightclub in Casablanca, only to discover that his old flame, Ilsa, played by Ingrid Bergman, Mark, you should be going like that. Okay. Is in town, is in town with her husband, Victor Laszlo, played by Paul Henri? 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 All right. A famed rebel, and with Germans on his tail, Ilsa knows Rick can help them get out of the country. I did not write that synopsis. So I I love this movie. I've seen it many times. Here's my review. I'm reading it. Humphrey Bogart delivers an iconic performance as Rick, a cynical nightclub owner with a hidden heart of gold, while Ingrid Bergman is luminous as Ilsa, torn between love and duty. Their chemistry is electric, making every scene between them emotionally charged and unforgettable. Claude Rains as the witty and morally ambiguous Louis. Louis. uh, adds a perfect touch of charm and humor. The film's screenplay is a treasure trove of legendary lines.
oh my God.
Yeah.
Here's looking at you, kid. We'll always have Paris. Of all the gin joints in all the world,
Yeah.
she walks into mine. Each one
But not
cemented in
play it
cinema.
again, Sam.
Playing against Sam, round up the usual
Which is
suspects.
never said.
Play it again,
Oh,
Sam.
yeah,
Donahue.
yeah,
Never said. Yeah.
yeah.
But not
Misquoted.
that.
Misquote. Well, it's Woody Allen's fault because he had a play called Play It Again, Sam,
Ah,
and that kind of stuck. But yes, he says, Play it, Sam. You played it for her, you played it for me. Play as time goes by. Okay. And each one of those lines cemented in cinematic history. The
Which one
dialogue.
is on your wall?
Which one was on my wall?
Well, from your last house, remember you had.
Yeah.
oh yeah, yeah.
I'm not really sure.
I'm not
It
going
must
to.
be. Yeah. Joel inherited my quotes.
Ah,
I'm not really sure which one I picked. Well, the dialogue crackles with wit, romance, and melancholy, perfectly complementing the film's themes of love, sacrifice, and redemption. Michael Curtiz, this is the thing that I read about it. I actually have this book. It's called Round Up the Usual Suspects, which is about the making of Casablanca. And one of the things was, Warner Brothers really was a movie factory. They had to put out X amount of movies every year to fill the theaters that they were sending movies to. And this one was just another one of those movies. Nobody thought this is going to become an iconic classic of all time movie. They just thought it was another job. They filmed it in 16 weeks and went on to the next project.
I'm
But
sure you read in what was that?
trivia,
I'm sure
that's
you read
fashion.
in the trivia that they both said that they're in like Humphrey Bogart at least said he's in making the worst movie he's ever made.
And
He would tell
was
people.
this Joel? Was this one of the movies George Raft turned down and he ended up getting in it?
No, the rumor is that George Raft was claiming he was offered the part and turned it down, but apparently
Right.
that's not actually true. It's
And Ronald Reagan was
the same
mentioned at
thing.
one point.
Yeah, that was a publicity thing that was put out by Reagan's PR people saying that, oh, he's being looked at, and he wasn't. From the
Right.
beginning, it was always Bogart.
Oh, okay. So Michael Curtiz directed this one. And the black and white cinematography so beautiful, and Max Steiner's score. And a few films stand the test of time for me, as Casablanca does. And so, way back in 1992, for the 50th anniversary, I took Anthony and Amy to see it because they had never seen it, and they both came out and went,
They have no class.
"Yeah."
I wasn't
But I can, but I
sophisticated, more
definitely
unsophisticated.
no, yeah, but I definitely can see why, because it's definitely the kind of movie you need to see more than once to understand where the movie's going and why it's so impactful for everybody.
Hmm.
It's only after repeated viewings do you truly understand what was at stake and how it was going to turn out. And like every romantic movie like this, why it's so beautiful. Okay. And the script, again, so many great lines, not just the ones we mentioned. So clever. No matter how many contributors there were tons of them. Anyway, it's a melodramatic combination of wartime sentiments, desperate refugees, and star-crossed lovers that works beautifully every single time. And it's that movie where you're like, aha, this time, no spoilers. The cast is excellent.
You could spoil this.
The role of Rick is the epitome of everything Humphrey Bogart came to be known for. Although he did not win an Oscar this year, it went to Paul Lucas for Watch on the Rhine. And I would like to point out that Ingrid Bergman was 27 at the time. Humphrey Bogart was 42. But the two of them together, it's a perfect movie. And the first time you see this film is just the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Wah, wah.
All right, so I did take notes while I was watching it. It was 13 minutes until Bogart came on the screen, and that was a star entrance for sure. The camera just pans up to him, like, I'm here. Peter Lorre is great, just great.
Always.
Oh my God. And the songs, and again, this is a kind of thing that was very typical in movies in the 40s and 50s, where there would just be a musical element to them. I don't know why, but they felt they needed to have it. So
And I love that we knew every song they played.
yeah,
Every song. Mark is
And-
like, not really.
yeah.
I don't even remember.
I don't either. But I remember thinking, oh yeah, let's sing along. No, Amy?
Funny.
Sidney Greenstreet made his film debut the year before in The Maltese Falcon, which Peter Lorre was also in. Stable of character actors from Warner Brothers.
Peter Lorre and Sidney Greenstreet went on to do 9 films together.
Wow.
So-
Wow.
And they don't have a scene together in this
Nope.
one.
Oh, that's funny.
Claude Rains is just perfect. Oh my God, I love him so much. So, and then this was funny to me. Rick tells the maitre d', give him the best table. And the maitre d' says, I will give him the best, but knowing he is German, he'll take it anyway.
Yeah.
And this was 1941.
Yeah.
So they were already like, yeah, those Germans, boy. And everything is so beautifully set up. I mean, the fact that we didn't see Bogart for 13 minutes just set the groundwork for everything that was going to come after it so beautifully. Even like they say, oh, Rick doesn't sit with anyone. So then he sits with Major Strasser because he feels he needs to. And then he sits with Ilsa, of course. And then they say Rick won't put his neck out for anyone. I'm like, oh yeah, we're gonna see about that one. And then Humphrey Bogart says, there are sections of New York I wouldn't advise going into. I'm assuming he meant the Bronx.
Yeah, I caught that too.
And then 30 minutes into the movie, and she walks into Rick's gin joint. And yes, she is the most beautiful woman in the world. Good Lord. So beautiful. And then after he sees her, he gets drunk and the whole play it Sam thing. And that flashback to Paris, so terrific to see the whole backstory and you could totally see when something happens, you don't know quite why she all of a sudden is aloof until we find out later. But now we know that she left him, so he's the abandoned woman here. That's quite the lovely moment for him, for sure. And then the rain crying on the note from her. How beautiful.
Mm.
Beautiful. And then I got so engrossed in the movie, I didn't take any more notes until I wrote round up the usual suspects. Beautiful. And of course, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Absolutely 4 stars for me. I would give it 5 if I could. It's a timeless.
You set this up differently when we started.
I was waiting for. I had that split second. Like, here comes Joel.
It is a timeless masterpiece that continues to captivate audiences all these decades after its release. From its unforgettable performances to its impeccable storytelling, the film is the epitome of a Hollywood classic. End of story. We don't need any more reviews. I'm putting 4 stars for everybody. Shut up. All right. Had everybody seen it before?
Yeah. That was good.
That looks so much better than doing that.
Yeah.
We actually saw the cat.
Yeah.
It was a picture of your cat.
Yeah.
Had everybody seen it already?
Yes.
Annie
No,
had.
No. Annie, you haven't? So let's start with you.
Yeah.
Was it
I guess I need a lot more viewings.
Oh
Ah,
I think I'm pretty much like when Amy and Anthony walked out of the theater. Okay. It was a movie. It was fine. It was, not too long and it was lovely. Kind of predictable where it was going, maybe because I've heard about it so much.
right.
It was a little predictable, but I think like you said, you keep hoping that maybe this time, kind of thing. But it was fine. And like I said, I probably need to watch it a lot more to really appreciate it like you do.
I need a lot more to really understand it. This is only my second time seeing it, and it was all brand new for me, really, from 1992.
Well, the movie you watched last week would be brand new if you
Okay,
watched
that's
it.
a really good point.
Good point. Yeah.
But I also then read the synopsis, and it made things a lot more clear, like what's going on with the French resistance and all, because I don't know all of that history. So I'm like,
Right.
what is this resistance?
Right. I mean, at the time the movie was made, it was on everybody's mind
Yeah.
because it was happening at that moment. It was kind of current events.
So is he a good guy or a bad guy? I don't know.
It felt a little current these days.
Anna, you didn't say start wise.
I had no problems with it. I would give it a 3-star review, and I don't think I'll watch it again. But if it ever pops up, maybe I'll watch it again with the nuances.
I'll just put it back on the list for next year.
Okay, then I would watch it again.
It would definitely resonate because then you, like I said, you know the plot, you know where it's going, and it really does become more poignant knowing what's going to happen. Amy Goldman, did you like it better this time?
I did like it better this time because I wish I could remember really what I thought about it way back when I was immature at 36. And I just loved the last, let's just say 30 minutes, starting from going into his apartment and Ilsa being there all the way to the end, because Annie said it was predictable, But to me, every like 5 minutes there was a twist. And I was like, oh my God, he's on the bad side, he's on the good side, and he's not really calling the airport. Oh no. But that was all a plan. And that to me really moved this movie up to 3.5 stars for me. I really don't have much more to say. I mean, I was enjoying it throughout. I was like, I'm a little confused here. But the end was just so good. And the fact that I didn't realize, I didn't remember who he said beginning of a beautiful friendship to. To me, that's a line from Bugs Bunny. So,
I thought he had said it to her, so I was also surprised by that
oh,
twist
funny.
at the end. Yeah,
What's the name of the Bugs Bunny short?
Carrot Blanca.
Carrot Blanca.
I gotta look that up. That's great.
And
Yep.
I did watch that last night. So
Oh, funny.
Oh.
Funny.
Here's looking at you, Carrot.
yeah.
That's it. You done? Oh,
Did Cara Burnett ever do this one?
I don't think so.
I
No,
don't think so.
that would have been a good one to do, though.
Mm.
All right, Mark. You had seen it before.
Yes, and you are
Amazing.
absolutely right, Frank. What you said earlier about you need multiple viewings because I definitely liked it better, probably due to my sophistication.
That was
And
me. I heard that too.
yeah, and maturity. I definitely enjoyed it better than the first time. Let's see.
Really?
It was funnier and better than I had remembered. Some of the
Definitely
old
had
time,
some good laugh lines. Yeah.
yeah, it was well written. Some of the old time acting was painful for me, but it didn't ruin it. And as you already mentioned, I recognized Peter Lorre and Sidney Greenstreet right away from the Maltese Falcon, which we watched last year.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
yeah.
Um, and I don't remember exactly the lines, but there were a few raunchy innuendos. Right? Am I crazy? I was very surprised for 1942. A couple of things that he said, I was like, that's an innuendo there.
They were actually the original script. They were more explicit. They had the Joseph Breen's office had them really cut back on a lot of stuff.
Like blowjob.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they mentioned blowjobs. That's all Captain Renault is talking about. He's giving blowjobs to everybody in the
Good thing they changed that.
yeah.
I guess my only question of the movie, maybe I'm just an idiot, but Victor Laszlo is basically wanted by the Nazis. And he walks in, he's like, "Yeah, hi, I'm Victor Laszlo, party of two, with all the Nazis next to me." Like, how do you not try to hide?
Well, I think because he's in Casablanca, they don't have jurisdiction to take him away.
But
And
they're
since he's
Nazis.
such a
They make people disappear all the time.
yeah, but since he's such a public figure, I guess they don't want to necessarily make an international incident.
I would have thought he would have come in and been like, party of two for Sam Smith,
Yeah,
something. And he was like, "Yeah, hi, I'm Victor Laszlo," in front of everybody. I just felt it
yeah,
was a little bit.
But he's
There-
probably so well known.
Yeah, but
yeah. They know his face. They
at
know his
at
face.
at the time, realistically speaking, Mark is correct. It's not that Casablanca was, like a neutral zone of sorts for those Trek fans out in the audience. The Nazis were there. They would have taken him out, but there's a whole bunch of little logic leaps in the movie that don't make sense.
Okay.
I'll leave it at that. So
Okay. Anyway, that's all I have too. It was thoroughly enjoyable. For an old movie like this, I'm giving it 3.5 stars, which is like a 4 star for me.
Yeah, I mean, just being in black and white.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeesh.
And no nudity. Come on. 3.5 stars. Fantastic.
Joel, tell them the truth.
Oh, you're
It's a
all
4 star movie. Come on.
sucks. It's a 0 star. No,
I loved it. 0 stars.
I love it at 0 stars. It's a classic for so many different reasons. I actually, I probably haven't seen it as many times as Frank has, but I've seen it enough times that I don't remember how many times I've seen it. And I always find something new when I watch it. I focus in on different things. This time I actually watched it with Roger Ebert's audio commentary.
Oh, okay.
Because there are 3 audio commentaries in existence. There's one from I think it's Ronald Haver on the original Criterion Laserdisc, and then
Also a film historian.
Yes, and Roger Ebert, and I forget the other film historian that's on the Warner Brothers DVD, 4K, Blu-ray, whatever disc you happen to watch. It's on all of them. Um, and I had forgotten that Ebert used to actually screen this movie for people, in like audiences, frame by frame, because he could pick out why each frame in the film was like just a work of art. And he's not incorrect. There are so many beautiful shots, just beautiful. Bergman is shot in such a way that she was beautiful in real life. On the big screen, it's
Luminous.
yeah,
Luminous.
as you said, she is absolutely gorgeous. And the film, you talk about, well, what genre is this movie? Well, it's, to me, it's always genreless. It's not. It's got romance, it's got action, it's got comedy. Not comedy in the sense of like airplane comedy, but it's witty, it's funny. It's got elements of film noir, but it's none of those.
And it has a musical element.
And then it's got the musical element. And so, you look at some of the shots, and the shadows that fall on people are just amazing to watch. When we go into Rick's office for the first time, the shot is mostly of Captain Renault, and you see Rick opening the safe, but that's all in shadow in the background, and that's just gorgeous.
Whoever Arthur Edson was, I do not know.
No.
He was the cinematographer.
Yes.
See, that stuff is lost on me. Why is that gorgeous? I don't see the gorgeousness in it.
Because
Well, but you do. You
yeah.
just don't recognize it as such.
Mark,
Yeah.
often when you film something and somebody is in shadows because they're being very shadowy, the lighting
Yeah.
often tells you what you're supposed to be thinking.
Yeah.
A good cinematographer
Okay.
and a good director will work together to create. Movies aren't just, if you go back to the early days of cinema when it was silent, the movies had to tell the story only in pictures. Yeah, there'd be like title cards and stuff occasionally, but
Right.
they were always better when they just told the story in pictures. They still do that. Well,
Yeah.
they still did that for a long time, even with all the dialogue that's explaining things. And
So-
that's what's,
So they didn't show him actually opening the safe because
Correct.
it's supposed to be a shadowy deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he
Okay.
was, yeah, and his shadow was on the wall.
If a
Yeah, I
camera is
definitely
slightly
noticed that.
below the person, that makes the person look bigger. If it's
Yeah.
above, it makes them look weaker.
Exactly.
Annie, go ahead, what?
All right.
But no,
Welcome to film class.
Wait, let Aunt, yeah, right.
No, I
Hey.
definitely noticed that scene. I was like, oh, that's such a great shot,
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
not just there.
Yeah.
There's how many shots are shot through some of the either the blinds or the screen panes where you see people, they look like they're behind bars.
Behind
They're
bars.
trapped.
They're trapped. Exactly.
The casting on this film is so brilliant that it extends beyond the principals. To every extra. Every extra in this movie was a refugee from Europe. In fact, there are only 3 American-born actors in the lead parts. So,
I love the maitre d' guy, S.Z.
Yeah.
Sakao.
yes.
Yeah.
He's
great.
adorable.
Yeah.
Love
But they're
him.
all great, and they all, having come from that background. I mean, the scene with Le Marseillaise is just emotional. You can see the emotion on all of their faces because they were reliving what they went through at the time. And
Sorry, which scene is that you're talking about?
where the Germans are singing and then they start the French national
Oh,
anthem.
yeah, that was a good scene. Yeah.
And it's amazing. And we talk about the musicality of the film. Max Steiner, who composed the score, didn't want As Time Goes By in the film because if he wrote an original song, he'd get more money. But they had already shot the scene where Ingrid Bergman is doing the lyrics, and they couldn't reshoot it because she had moved on to another movie.
Yeah.
So basically, Warner Brothers said to him, "You have no choice. This song is in the movie." So he ran with it and used it as a theme throughout the entire score. And I think that's one of the things that makes the score so memorable, is that it's not just Sam singing As Time Goes By. It's all over the place, and it's just lovely.
And so the Julie Wilson, who plays Sam, actually did not know how to play the piano. He actually played drums.
Correct. But
Funny.
the actual pianist was just off screen, and he could see his hand movements and try to mimic them. So I don't know that he does it so well, but it was an attempt. It
I
is,
definitely noticed that. I was like, he's not really playing.
yeah. I had seen this movie a few times before I saw it on the big screen in a theater, and I also saw it for the 50th anniversary run, and I saw it at a theater in Greenwich, and they pulled the same shit that the State Theater had pulled with Gone with the Wind, that they filled the screen with it. It is not a widescreen movie, and it wasn't horrible until the scene where Ilsa confronts Rick and she's got the gun,
There was
because
no
there
gun.
was no gun. It was completely cut off the screen.
I think you said that before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it needs to be watched the proper way on your square television set at home.
Right.
um, it's still a wonderful film. Roger Ebert says that even though he thinks Citizen Kane is a better made film, this is his favorite film. And it is definitely the epitome of the Hollywood studio system at the time, because as Frank said, Warner Brothers was a factory. It was just another film that was being churned out by this factory, and all of the elements in it are what brought the whole thing together and raised it up into the classic it's become. And I'm not just the elements of the right director and the right screenwriters and the right actors and the right extras and the right this and the right that. It was the timing of the movie.
Yeah.
It's based on it was based on, at the time, on an unproduced play that Warner Brothers bought for a ridiculous amount of money at the time, and turned it into this script that they just put into the system. And
Everybody comes to Rex.
it was originally titled
Yeah,
Everybody
yeah,
Comes
yeah,
to Rick's, and they changed the title because a few years earlier they had a very successful movie called Algiers. And so there's like, all right, let's call it
This
Casablanca.
is the sequel.
It's the
Yes.
sequel. So we'll
Funny.
do that. And it's the timing was just, Casablanca was invaded just before the movie was released. Everything just worked in their favor, and it's still an amazing film. If you
And
do
sorry,
go
And
back,
the thing was that they kept writing it as they were going along.
yes, and
It
it's
wasn't never completed. They didn't even know who was getting on that plane when they were filming the
well,
movie.
it's funny. They've always claimed that, and Roger Ebert brought up a very interesting point. They may not have necessarily known how they were getting there, but they had to have known who they were getting there with, because the Breen office wouldn't have allowed Ingrid Bergman to go off with anyone other than her husband. They, um, it's it's like, all right, that makes a little bit of sense.
Yeah,
Um,
but they could have killed him, and then she would
They
have.
could have, but they eventually decided, they came up with the whole, they had already had Round Up the Usual Suspects, and the Epstein's brothers were like, oh, if we bring that back, well, why would we be rounding up the usual suspects? Well, it's because Rick killed somebody. Who did Rick kill? Well, Rick obviously has to kill Strasser because we all hate him,
Right.
um, so I think that in the end it worked exactly the way it's supposed to.
Yeah,
And
yeah, it's
Did
just the
it win
kind of
the Oscar?
thing.
yes, it did
It
win Best
did.
Picture. It
did it
also
do
won.
did it do well in the box office?
It did,
Yes,
Okay.
it was nominated for, I think, 7 Oscars and won
and it
3.
won three.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was picture, director, and adapted screenplay.
yeah.
Um, and there's just two more quick trivia bits. This was Conrad Veight's last film,
And
uh,
who was Conrad Veidt?
about Major Strasser.
Thank you.
He made one more film, but this was the last film released in his lifetime. So he was, you know, he died soon after it was released. But he had one more film that came out.
So did the Mater D, I think. He died a few years later.
Yeah.
2 years later. Yeah.
And the entire film is shot, with one exception, on the soundstage. Yes, there's some
Yeah,
stock footage used, but the scene of Major Strasser arriving at the airport was shot at Van Nuys Airport. The airport at the end of the film is a soundstage. The airplane in the background is a cutout, and the people walking around it are midgets. Um,
I remember.
and
You
and
Yeah,
mean
and
yeah.
vertically challenged?
first, yeah, vertically challenged. Whatever the proper term is. I apologize to the little people
All
out
the midgets out there listening.
there. I,
Dwarves. Yes.
and then
Just to force perspective.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's a brilliant thing because you look at it and you're like, they're in an airport,
Right.
and they're
Yeah.
not. So,
And
uh,
bring in the fog so it doesn't
yeah, to
look
cover
bad.
things, wet down the pavement, because it shoots better and stuff like that. It
So
is,
I'm actually looking at the Wikipedia page while Joel's talking because it's fascinating. Joel,
yeah,
but it says here when they showed it in West Germany, all the scenes with the Nazis were removed.
yep. Well,
How would that how would that help?
they didn't show it in Germany until the 50s.
Right.
So when they showed it in the 50s, they didn't want to remind the Germans of Nazism, so they cut out all the. It's not that they cut all the Nazi scenes; they did their best to cut around them to get
Yeah.
rid of them. And Laszlo actually becomes like Oppenheimer. He was like a nuclear physicist or something.
And so
Oh, wow.
it was 25 minutes shorter than the original cut. They didn't see the full movie till 1975.
The year that Mark was born.
Here you go.
Yeah.
That's
That's
funny.
how they celebrated.
Yeah.
Um,
They're like, let's
Good for
watch
them.
Casablanca.
there are some great documentaries on the disc if you ever get a chance to watch it. There's a PBS program called Bacall on Bogart that runs about an hour and a half. There's another one on Michael Curtiz, the director you never knew, or you never heard of, I think it was called. And then there's two pieces on Casablanca itself. That they don't run more than like half an hour-ish. And Carrot Blanca is a great little Looney Tunes version of it with Bugs as Rick and Tweety as Peter Lorre, and you
I
briefly
think we can watch it right now.
Yeah.
okay, probably. I'm sure it's there somewhere. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up with 4 stars. It is a brilliant movie. It is classic for so many different reasons. If you haven't seen it, watch it. If you've seen it, watch it again. And that's that.
And there were deleted scenes too, Joel, right?
There's a couple, nothing really worth, you know. There's reasons. Most of the time, there's reasons scenes are deleted. They're best to stay
Right.
that way.
Yeah, agreed.
Sometimes. I
So,
wouldn't say most times. All right, so Casablanca from 1942 is streaming on Max if you subscribe to that service. Next week, since we actually filmed this before the Oscars, we don't know what we're watching next week. Next week, we're going to review this year's Best Picture Oscar winner, whatever the hell that may be.
I just have to say, last year at this time, we
Yes.
filmed it on Sunday, and we said, it's Monday. Next
Oppenheimer.
week, we're going to be watching Oppenheimer because it
Yeah.
won Best
Yes.
Picture.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say that, Amy.
But this year is not as clear cut.
Yeah. Oh, and we're going to be fucked if it's I'm Still Here.
Oh my goodness.
Because who's going to
I'm
have
across
time to
the
get to the
street.
Yeah,
Are we allowed to say that word on television?
we're on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
So
Cringer's back.
Hey.
he's like, are they done talking?
Yeah.
Hi.
Feed me. Feed me, Seymour.
But when you post this tomorrow morning, Frank, you'll be able to tell everybody what we're watching.
And that's
Right.
true.
That is
That
true.
is true. So read it in the comments.
Subscribe and like.
Subscribe.
Subscribe and like.
Yep.
Nobody's
All right.
watching us right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
this
Frank Gaffney. Go watch this movie. If you haven't seen it, you really need to.
Yes. And also with you.